Welcome in to episode 9 of the Fantasy Bums podcast. If you missed last episode, we finished out our RB rankings. We did 11 through 1. And instead of doing wide receiver rankings and just keep giving you guys lists, I think we're going to switch it up a little bit today. And we're going to have a little bit more of a discussion, a little bit more of a conversation rather than just us spewing facts out about players or opinions about certain players that we do enjoy. So let's just hop right into it. First of all, for you two, I have a question. Okay. This is strictly redraft. This isn't dynasty. This isn't keeper league. I saw this on Twitter and I felt like it's not as quick or clear cut as an answer as it seems like at first, because each of these players do have their downfalls and each of these players do have their red flags. So who would you rather draft? And again, in a redraft league, Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, or Travis Etienne?
I can go first on this one. I know my first running back would definitely be Ramondre, especially with the news today. I don't know if you guys saw it, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw that James Robinson was released from
That is
the
true.
Patriots.
That is
So
Yeah,
I
I
mean
saw
that's
that
just
also.
so that's the only competition I truly saw that would even give Ramondre any sort of backfield committee. So Ramondre Stevens would definitely be the one. He has the least amount of competition. They brought in Juju, but other than that, the offense hasn't really changed.
yeah.
I think they're still going to be dependent on Ramondre Stevenson. And, I mean, he's going to get his touches. And between these three, I like Ramondre the most. And he also finished the highest out of these three last season, so I don't see it much changing this season.
Fair enough.
And then I could just keep going to Travis Etienne would be my second. And this is just due to the pass catching and the college connection with Trevor Lawrence. I think they're going to continue to do that. Whenever Travis Etienne was on the field last year, he did a lot better than what people really, thought he was going to do, especially with James Robinson leaving there and going to the Patriots. But now James Robinson doesn't own a roster, which is kind of crazy, even though he had a 1,000-yard season his rookie year.
Yeah, he was insane for a while, and then what happened? It was Urban
It
Meyer,
was
right?
Achilles.
Yeah, he just got hurt,
Oh,
and
you
that
were
was
talking
really
about
big.
And
Etienne.
Meyer didn't
Never mind,
believe
of
in him
course.
and didn't play him, and then they drafted Etienne.
Yeah, then the only competition with him is the rookie that they just drafted, and I don't see that really competing with his touches as much as people think. So he my second, then Najee is just a volume king. That'd be my third.
I actually saw something crazy. Speaking about Urban Meyer a second ago, did you see the Netflix documentary that's coming out about the Florida Gators, the team,
Yeah,
the
I
'06
saw
to
that. hmm
'09
I haven't.
Gators?
That
Yeah,
looks good. I want to see that.
there's also another Netflix documentary coming out about football. It's like the three quarterbacks one. I don't know if you guys saw that
Mm-mm.
on social media.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
didn't see
like
that one.
they took it was I was looking this up for the episode, and they took three quarterbacks. They took Mahomes, Cousins, and Marcus Mariota, and they're like following them through last season. And the descriptions they had for Mahomes and Kirk Cousins, like, oh, this is interesting, and then they get to Mariota, and I just got to read it. So it says features behind the scenes access to the biggest NFL moments as Mahomes sets an NFL record for total offense on his way to winning the league and Super Bowl MVP. Cousins engineered the greatest comeback in NFL history and led the Vikings to the NFC North Division title. And Mariota took over the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Like, that's his description.
That's funny. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give that a watch. It comes out on the quarterbacks one comes out on July 2nd, and then the Gators one, it's called Swamp Kings. I think that's a really cool name.
Mm-hmm.
That comes out on August 23rd this year, I believe.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that one should actually be good. The Florida one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
I'm
seen
interested to
it.
see that one.
Yeah, that
Because
one's
I mean,
been
like the big guys, like Aaron Hernandez, Janoris
Yeah,
Jenkins,
like
Pouncey
Tebow and
twins,
all. Yeah.
Riley Cooper, Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, but like there's like a bunch of like little guys in there that did like some super fucked up stuff too.
yeah, for sure. All right. So Tyler, out of those three running backs, a little sidebar right there. But out of those three running backs, who you taking in a draft?
Me, whenever I first look at these three, my first instinct was Mondre. I wanted to get Mondre Stevenson. I love him, and I just kind of wanted to see how close Mondre and Etienne and Harris are. So I kind of just pulled up some stats and stuff about them, and they were very close. Stevenson was 13 in rushing yards. Etienne was 9th. Harris was 15th. Touchdowns, Stevenson and Etienne had 5. Harris had 7. Uh, attempts were pretty close, except for Najee. Najee was 5th. Harrison and Stevenson and Etienne were 13 and 16. Even one thing that surprised me was Ramondre Stevenson's receiving stats. He was a very good receiving back this year. He just didn't have the touchdowns. He was 7th in yards with 421. Etienne was 15th with 316, and Harris was 26th with 229. He had 6.1 yards per catch. He only had 1 touchdown. Etienne didn't have a touchdown. Harris had 3. He was 3rd in targets with 88, only behind Caffrey and Eckler.
Eckler, yeah.
He was 4th in receptions. He just didn't have the touchdowns. He had a crazy good receiving year. I think that Mondre, I think he's a mix of both because he can do the workhorse stuff that Najee does, but he can also take the routes out of the backfield like ETN. I think he's honestly the best of both worlds. And
Right.
I was looking at their ADP. They're like back to back to back.
Yeah,
Etienne's 25, Stevenson's 26, Harris
why-
is 27.
That's why I asked this question. That's why these 3 running backs specifically.
Yeah.
So you're going. So we have 2 Ramondres. Shanholtz and
Yeah.
Tyler. You guys are both going with Ramondre.
Yeah, I'm going Mondre. I
Yeah.
honestly think that the reason I chose Mondre is because I think he's going to fall because, people think about Harris and ETN and Harris's volume. I called him, what's in my notes here somewhere? I called him the Grandmaster of volume. He's just going to take everything from the Steelers. And then
Yeah.
ETN is just such a threat out of the backfield. So people are going to be thinking about that. But then you have Mondre who can do it all. And he finished 7th last year, above both of those guys in PPR.
Fair.
At least in standard. I think it's standard. He still finished above them.
Yeah, he was up there in standard. Fair enough. So I'm gonna differ with everybody. If you've been watching or listening, you kind of understand that I high on Najee this year. Out of these 3 guys, it's probably not gonna be popular, but I'm gonna take Najee Harris. A couple things: his ceiling. He has the highest ceiling of the 3. He's proven it. He finished RB, was it 3 or 4 his rookie year? None of the other guys have made the top 5. Again, ETN, this is technically his 2nd year in the NFL, so I give him time for that. But this is only Najee's 3rd, and Ramondre kind of broke onto the scene a couple years ago. Just with the sheer amount of volume, if Najee and the Steelers' offense can be a little bit more efficient, I feel like he's going to be a stud this year. As barring injuries, if Najee and the Steelers can just be slightly more efficient, score a couple more touchdowns, man, he should be pretty good with all the volume he gets. Let me know who you guys think down below. Out of those 3, Najee, Ramondre, Etienne, as Tyler said, they're all back to back to back in ADP. Let us know who you're drafted in that spot. All right. So today's main topic of the show, we're going to talk about some trades. Give you little tips, what we like to do, how we approach trades. All 3 of us are probably, excluding Lucas because he's not here, the 3 of us probably make the most trades in our home leagues.
Easily.
Yeah, I know me and Shanholtz, we've made some trades. Our doors are always open. The trade talk line is always on. So just for right now, I want you guys to give me 2 tips. Let's go one at a time. So Shanholtz give me 1, Tyler give me 1, and I'll round it out, and then we'll go back around with another one.
Yeah, like Nick said, I'm very trade friendly. I think trades are amazing. Not only does it keep the people in your league, into the league itself, but also it can help you more than it can help the other people. And I'm kind of scummy too when it comes to trades. I'm kind of a salesman. So that goes into my first tip is that you got to be a salesman. You got to twist the stats and everything to make it seem like the person you're giving them is better than the person you're receiving. I've done that on multiple occasions, and more than not, it works. Just off the top of my head, I gave up just a shitty running back last year. I forget who it was, but he had a 30-point game. It might have been Deontay Foreman now I'm thinking of it. But I traded him for Juju Smith-Schuster at the time, who was a top 15 wide receiver.
This guy down
yeah.
below.
No, wait, yeah. You trade. I remember that trade. So it was I don't remember the exact trade, but I remember the package was I needed receivers. So I traded you Josh Jacobs. It was after
it might have been
first,
vice versa or something.
His first 30-point game, and I was like, "Oh, this
it was Debo for Josh Jacobs."
Yeah, and then Devonta Foreman was in the deal.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, I remember giving up Foreman, but anyway, so I packaged them, And I'm like, Debo was wide receiver 2 last year. He's having a slow start this season. Obviously, that wasn't the case. He was just terrible throughout the whole season. But their selling points are the make or break between getting a Josh Jacobs. Because at the time, I mean, it was like week 3 or 4, and you got to take a shot because, Josh Jacobs was like, what, 1 or 2 at the time? I mean, he was going insane at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, you got to be able to have key selling points to your teammates because you got to act like you know more than them. And more times than not, that works. Now, give it like me, we've had this league for 3 years now. People kind of catch on and are kind of almost scared to trade with you. But you got to even have more selling points at that time to be able to, get what you want. Because they're like, why should I trust you? You've, trade raped like half the league already. Why would I, give you who you want? Yeah. But once you be like, yeah, well, here's point A, B, and C, they're like, oh, well, I mean, when you put it like that, and then that's got me way more trades than not. And that's won me the league before and put me in the championship last year. So that's my first tip is you got to be a salesman. And you got to be able to sweet talk your teammates or your league mates, for your whatever player you want.
I completely agree. Talk up the players that you're going to give them and maybe give some reasons as to why that other person wouldn't want the player that they're going to give up. So that's
it just takes a 5-minute sleeper search if you use that app and there's stats on it. Just pick a handful.
Tyler, how about give the kids one tip for trading?
I think of trading a little bit differently than you guys. I'm not so trade happy. I more or less trade for I trade for utility, like I trade for needs, like with that the Josh Jacobs trade we were talking about earlier. I had a surplus of running backs, like I had like Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs at the time, Damian Pierce, and some other good bench guys that like I could just throw in at any week. So my running backs were fine, but I was lacking on receivers because Cooper Kupp just got hurt, and Jerry Jeudy did not work out. So I don't remember who my wide receiver one was, but getting to my tip, I don't trade if you don't need to. If you see everybody going trade happy, you see everybody just constantly making trades. If you're comfortable with the team you have, just stick with it, and really just don't break it if it's not broke.
Fair enough. I completely agree. That's definitely lost some people in our league championships, and that's definitely won a couple guys. Just making trades to make trades. Trades
it's a slippery slope.
Yep.
The spin zone that. I'm like the opposite of Tyler. Tyler kind of like likes his team, but I'm always trying to trade. But that's one of the best times to start a trade is when one person makes a trade because then everyone's like, oh, shit, he traded. Let's get it going. Yep. And you just start bombarding the league with trades, and eventually you'll at least get a conversation. And that's where you use my tip, and, you got to sell a player. And I've gotten trades out of that. Just one person makes a trade, and then at the end of the day, there's 11 trades. And it's 8 of them were me and another person. So when someone makes a trade, that's a good time to start, at least getting a conversation.
So I guess my first tip for you guys out there that are making trades right now and keeper leagues, dynasty leagues, all that kind of stuff is don't be afraid to send counters. All because the first offer is the first offer doesn't mean that it's the only offer that can be received. I probably pissed off everybody in our league last year around week 4 to week 7. I had a surplus of wide receivers. I had 5 good wide receivers that would have started. I would have at least been a wide receiver 2 on everybody's team. And I had 3 running backs. So I had to try to move those those wide receivers, for running backs. So the amount of trades I sent almost every day to almost everybody in the league was ridiculous. Okay. So with that being said, once I got a trade back, once somebody sent me not even a counter, just another trade, I didn't want to leave that trade knowing that I lost. So I would try to build that trade in the way that I win by using counters. So if I counter offer you and you don't like it, then you counter offer me, and then we just have a conversation back and forth. Well, what do you want for this player? So I guess really the tip would be opening conversation rather than counter picks or counter offers, but counter offers is the way to opening conversations. If I want to trade Tyler, if I want to get one of Tyler's RB2s and I have 2 or 3 wide receivers, I have to try to give him a deal that me, the trader, will win. Because if you walk out of a trade thinking you lost the trade, then you did. And I know every trade's supposed to be 50-50, but your mindset should be to win the trade, and you should, going off of what Channel said, you just have to try to keep selling points, selling points, selling points. You have to go get the player that you want, and you can only do that by opening conversation, and you have to be willing to give up a little bit. So before we get into our second trade tip of the episode, we're actually going to take an ad break here. So stick around for the rest of our tips, and hope you enjoy the ad.
Our first sponsor ever for the Fantasy Buns podcast is W Energy Supplements. W is a 0-calorie, no-sugar energy supplement, perfect for anyone in need of an energy boost without the crash from the caffeine. W has a variety of flavors to choose from, so your perfect flavor is waiting for you. Use code FANTASYBUMS for 10% off your purchase at checkout.
All right, welcome back in from that ad break. Hopefully that encourages you to go buy some stuff using our code FANTASYBUMS for 10% off. And we're back with our second tip of our trade episode. Shanholtz, what's your second tip?
So I don't know how many league fans we have in here. The show, The League. If you ever watched it, it's about fantasy football. It's a good show. But there's a character on the show named Taco, and he just doesn't pay attention to fantasy football at all. He's just in the league because his brother runs the league. And that is my tip number 2, is to pick on your league's Taco. What do I mean by that? It is nearly impossible to get a full 10-man to 12-man league where everyone is, studying the rosters or watching the trade block. You're going to have 1 or 2 people that just don't give a shit. They're just in it because they're a bunch of friends in it. Those are the best targets for trades, and you got to get them early before anyone else does. I did it last year, but I did it towards the end, and he gave me Patrick Mahomes, QB1, for my playoff run on the trade deadline. I forget who. It was someone like garbage. It was like Cortland Sutton or someone stupid. Just because he's like, you're a good friend of mine. I'm not going to name it, but he's like, here, just take Mahomes. Like stuff like that, you can take advantage of. That is just free money in the bank for you. And all I had to do was
foul.
Trade. It was nuts.
I
it was like
seeing it.
Sutton in like a 5th round for next year or something because we trade like picks in the later. Mm-hmm. But just like stuff like that. If you know who doesn't give a shit in your league about fantasy at all, like they're just there because they're friends, it's your friends from like high school or whatever, take advantage of them because they truly do not care what their roster looks like. They're already like 2-8 at the end of the season, or starting the season, they're projected to be like the worst team. And that could also translate to my first tip: sell it. Be like, dude, your team's ass. Just pick up picks for next year, or I'll give you this player. He has a good chance of going off. They don't know. You could make up stats, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. Like that's the best people. I love picking on those type of people in our league because they give me whoever I want every single time and without fail. And it makes my team better at the start of the season or during my playoff push because I haven't missed the playoffs yet. I know we've only been in the league for 2 years, but my team's always like one of the best teams in the league simply because I trade during the season to pick up the players who I think are going to be good at the end of the season. And lo and behold, I'm in the playoffs every year. I mean, it's just crazy.
Tyler, how about your second tip?
My second tip is to trust your gut, know yourself, know what kind of team you want to build. And if you see a trade that you don't like, swipe it away. Don't take it. Take what you want and, just build the team how you want to build it.
I guess the last tip I have for you guys is to – I guess it would be to know your situation is the best way to put it, right? So by about the trade deadline, you should have a good understanding if your team can compete for the playoffs, if it can compete for the championship, or if you're not in it at all. Now, this is not including redraft leagues, so keeper leagues, dynasty leagues. This is a perfect time to sell players for future, right? So I sold my team. Well, I'm sorry. I sold my picks for this year's draft, the 2023 draft, so that I could go all in for the championship this past year. And I did win it. So I knew where I was and I knew where the rest of my league was. So I went after the people that were lower, that weren't going to make the playoffs, and said, hey, you give me your best wide receiver and I'll give you a 4th round pick and I'll throw in this young guy who could be a keeper or whatever the situation may be. And if I'm on the other side,
that snuck up. That cough just snuck up on me. I'm sorry. That literally came from out of nowhere. I was just sitting here fine. I'm like, oh. Sorry about that. Oh,
oh boy. All right. So I guess to flip that, right? So if you're not going to make the playoffs And this is a good time for you to sell high on your best players. If I've got I don't know if I've got Tyreek Hill and I'm sitting at the 10th seed or the 10th spot at week 9 or week 10 and I have no chance of making it. If I would willingly trade Tyreek Hill, but I'm going to get what I want. So it kind of works both ways, right? You have to be able to know your limitations and you don't want to sell your entire team to get one player, right? But you also have to be able to put yourself in the best place to compete for next year or to compete for this year if you're going to, depending on your situation. So know your situation and have a plan when you go into these trades. All right, so those are 6 trading tips from the Fantasy Bums right here, and we're gonna kind of switch it up a little bit. We're still gonna be talking about trades, but I want everybody to give me one trade for candidate this year. Someone that you're either high on, someone that you think you can buy low, someone that you think's a sleeper, or whatever the case may be. Somebody that you think that you can just go out and trade for right now, and chances are you can get him for nothing.
Yeah, I'm harping on this guy. I feel like every episode, but I just think he is just an absolute steal. It's Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver for Pittsburgh.
Hmm.
The 0 touchdowns, you don't even hear anyone talking about him from last year. Like, no one even wants the guy. And I think it's just insane. Yes, he had 0 touchdowns, but that's solely due to basically Kenny Pickett not even having 10 touchdowns last year as a rookie. I don't think that's going to happen again. The 7 touchdowns is just not going to happen again. Kenny Pickett's good. I believe in Kenny Pickett, so therefore I believe in Deontay Johnson and that Steelers offense. Kenny Pickett's my QB sleeper from the very first episode of Fantasy Bums. So I believed in him from the start. And another thing, they didn't add any new weapons to the Pittsburgh offense. They just added Darnell Washington as a receiver, who's basically he literally claims himself as a 6th offensive lineman.
Yep.
So that goes to show you how much he's going to be in the passing game. So they basically said Deontay Johnson is the wide receiver 1 again for the future. It's him, Pickens, and a ghost of Allen Robinson. And you have Freiermuth, the tight end, who's pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's their receiving core. And I don't see them, really beating Deontay Johnson, who, by the way, finished wide receiver 7 in targets. Are you kidding me? Wide receiver, you're in the top 10 in targets and not even finished. I think he finished wide receiver 28 just because of the lack of touchdowns. If he would have had 4 touchdowns, which would have been his career low to that point, he would have been like wide receiver 12 or 13 just with the touchdowns. So I think you could get him for almost nothing. And going back to my trading tip, sell that to people when you trade. Be like, he didn't even score a touchdown last year. Why do you want him? I mean, I just think it's nuts.
Completely agree. Touchdowns are a sticky stat. You can't really predict them too well. It'd be really impressive if he didn't score another touchdown this year, but I don't think
insane.
I don't think that's going to happen. Tyler, give me one of your trade for targets.
Mine's Alexander Madison with Dalvin Cook getting released. This is just if you were in desperate need of running back, you have to go out and get him because I think you could get him pretty low. I mean, he's only had 6-7 career starts.
Yep.
And in those games, he's had the lowest amount of attempts he had was 13. He averaged around 20 to 25. He only was under 50 yards once. Scored a touchdown in 3 of those games and a receiving touchdown in 2 of those games. He's just electric on the field whenever Dalvin Cook isn't there. So he's got a full season without Dalvin Cook, and he's got the wheel, and I think he could explode and be in the top 15 maybe.
Yeah, he's been very good. Well, I'll say he's been good whenever he's gotten those starts. So it'd be interesting to see what he can do with the full season. Right now, I don't think the Vikings are looking for another running back. I mean, there's still a couple guys on the market like Zeke and Fournette that could pop up on that roster. But right now, Madison's the guy, and I'm all for it. So I'm going to stick kind of with the running back theme that Tyler brought up. I'm going to go with Cam Akers. I feel like whoever has Cam Akers in your league probably drafted him or picked them up and then dropped them, and then somebody else picked them up. So he has either been on the team the entire season or was dropped and picked up so many times that he's kind of irrelevant. Sean McVay came out and said that he wants Cam Akers to build off what he did to end the season last year and start this year. his only competition in the backfield is Kyron Williams. Even if this offense isn't good, even this offense, isn't anything what it was 2 years ago, he still put up crazy numbers last year at the end of the last 4 weeks, last 6 weeks, whatever it was. I feel like he's going to be a value in drafts. I feel like you could probably trade him for nothing. So he's my trade for guy. I'm all in on Cam Akers and Najee Harris this year. I guess for some reason, you'll probably won't. This probably won't be the last time you hear me talk about them. But now let's go to the other side of the coin on trades. Let's give me somebody you're willing to trade away. Someone that's either lost value or you think you can sell super high right now.
I kind of have a plethora of players, but I grouped them into one little setting. I have any Panther or Texans receiving core player. So that includes Dalton Schultz. That includes Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, Joe Messi, Nico Collins. Like any receiver, I just don't love. Both these offenses have established that they want to be a run-based team.
Mhm.
Both of these offenses have rookie quarterbacks who I don't really like to begin with starting for them. And both of these teams are bottom of the barrel. That's why they were picks 1 and 2 last year. So they're not very good franchises to begin with. And that's just too scary of a situation. I wouldn't even touch any of them. The only person I do see any like dynasty relevance would be like a Terrace Marshall or a Jonathan Mingo or a John Mechie. And those would just be guys you would set in the pocket for a year or two to the quarterback's established. Because I don't think Young or Stroud's going to have a fantastic rookie season. So any of those guys, I don't really like. Dalton Schultz might be the best if you need a tight end. But other than that, I'm definitely going to stay away from them. And then an honorable mention I have, just to say a name, is Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. Don't do to yourself again this year. I've seen that Michael Thomas is giving Chris Olave, competition and off training and stuff. Don't listen to that. Don't do that to yourself. You're living off the wide receiver one pass that he's had. He's never going to go back to that. So don't even put yourself in that situation. Get rid of him to a Michael Thomas truther if you can for whatever you can get out of him.
Yeah, back to what you said about the rookie quarterbacks. There have been, I think, 5 or 6. There have been 5 or 6 top 36 wide receiver finishes when there's a rookie quarterback. So only 6 wide receivers have finished in the top 36 of their respective years' rankings whenever they've had a rookie quarterback under center. So try to avoid all those guys if you can. It's just not a good scene for rookie quarterbacks and wide receivers.
No,
Tyler,
I know Tyler wouldn't like it. Just to
yeah,
get one more, but the
yeah,
Colts, any like Michael Pittman or anything, that's
yeah.
just still scary for me. Especially with Anthony Richardson, because he's going to scramble before he throws the ball to anyone. So, I mean, any
Yep.
rookie quarterback this year, I just don't like their receiving core at all.
Tyler,
Yeah, the quarterbacks are coming into a really rough receiving core. But going off of Shanholtz, I'm going to stick with a former Panthers wide receiver in DJ Moore. Now, this one I'm actually going to leave up to you guys. So, would you get rid of DJ Moore or would you keep DJ Moore? Because he's been through a carousel of quarterbacks. He's been through like 8 different quarterbacks. He's played for
yes.
about 6, 7 years, and at least like 3, 4 of those years, he's hit 1,000 yards. He's always been a good player. But last year was a really awkward weird year for DJ Moore. He broke his season record for touchdowns with 7, but he also had an almost career low of not even 900 yards. And
So
again, that's probably due to the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
for me, honestly, this one's tough. I think I'm going to keep DJ Moore. If I have him on my team, I think I'm going to keep him. I actually thought about trading for him in our keeper league, but he would have been kept in the 4th round, and that's way too high.
yeah, that's the only thing with DJ Moore.
Yeah. I don't know. This is probably going to be me falling into a trap again, like usual. But man, look what all these wide receivers do whenever they go to a developing quarterback. AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes, Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. These guys explode. DJ Moore is a superstar talent, right? We've seen it. He's really good on the field. He's just never been able to translate that to fantasy. I think that changes this year. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver. I think he finishes within the top 15.
Yeah, I like DJ Moore this year too. He's the best wide receiver in Bears history, and he just stepped onto the Bears field. So that's one thing to think about. And he's always been good. Like he's always been a 1,000-yard receiver. Just last year, the carousel of PJ Walker, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold,
Hmm.
whoever they threw in a quarterback was just not the or I don't know how to say it, not the best situation for DJ Moore. Do I like him more than other players going at his rank? No, but if you're just going to hand me DJ Moore on a platter, I'm definitely going to take him. I would say round 5 back, I would keep him there. But last year he was drafted around the late third, early fourth round, just due to that high ceiling that he had. I would not keep him if he was a third or fourth round keeper. That's for any keeper league situation. But a fifth or sixth, maybe if I had no one else to keep, I would take a shot on it. But I mean, that could go either way, and I wouldn't look one way or the other. So he's kind of in the middle for me.
All right, I guess it's my turn. A trade away candidate, and I think right now, actually, probably when the news broke during the draft, I think right now, between now and then before preseason starts, is probably the best time. You're probably going to get the most out of selling DeAndre Swift. I'm an Eagles fan. I love the Eagles. I love Howie Roseman for what he's done the past couple years, but DeAndre Swift's health, has never been there. He hasn't played a full season in a while. Granted, most running backs don't, but he's missed a bunch of games. Rashad Penny's also there. Kenny Gainwell's also there, and Boston Scott's also there. That's a 4 running back committee that's just going to be a revolving door, round and round, and Jalen Hurts. So I think you can sell him off the hype of being for the Eagles and being on the NFC Championship contending team, favorites to win the NFC, whatever you want to call it. I think off the hype alone, you can get something equal value and then something lower. So you can get two pieces for your team for the price of DeAndre Swift. And Jalen Hurts doesn't dump the ball down to DeAndre Swift or to running backs, excuse me. And that's kind of where DeAndre Swift made a huge killing in fantasy. So DeAndre Swift is my trade away target or trade away candidate.
Our first sponsor ever for the Fantasy Buns podcast is W Energy Supplements. W is a 0-calorie, no-sugar energy supplement, perfect for anyone in need of an energy boost without the crash from the caffeine. W has a variety of flavors to choose from, so your perfect flavor is waiting for you. Use code FANTASYBUMS for 10% off your purchase at checkout.
All right, welcome back from that second ad break. Right now, we're going to finish the show. We have one more piece of information to cover, and we're going to go over our trading red flags. Each of us are going to give you one red flag that if we see in a trade or if we see in conversation with the trade, that it's pretty much just going to turn us off and kind of shut the whole deal down. So we're going to keep the same order just so, it just can be continuous with the rest of the show. So Shane Holtz, what's your red flag in trades?
So my red flag, I don't have too many because like Nick said in the beginning, I love trades. I love everything about them. I love to talk trades, and I'm just trading every day if I could. But the one thing I don't like is if a trade is too good when they send it, you have to at least look into it. There's been a couple of trades last year when I'm like, what in the world? Like, why are they sending me this? It was like, well, for me, I sent a trade to one of our players in our league. It was like 10 minutes after I saw that James Robinson left the Jags, and it was Travis Etienne time in Jacksonville. So I sent a trade. It was like my second or third best wide receiver for Travis Etienne. And the guy took it immediately, not knowing that James Robinson just left, so now there's no more backfield committee there. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's too good to be true, just look into it at least. It's the least you can do. Because there could just been breaking news. Like if you're someone like me that stays on the roster turns and the trade rumor mill, like if you're someone that's on top of it, I'll send you a trade within 5 minutes of knowing. Like that's just the type of player I am. I want the trade now. I don't want you to even look at your phone before you see mine. But if it's too good to be true, you got to at least be like, why in the world are they sending me this? Because you could definitely get scammed for sure. If you're just like, oh, yeah, I love this. This is a great trade. And then you look at NFL or ESPN.com and so-and-so got traded or so-and-so picked up from the Patriots or whatever. And then you're like, oh, shit, that's why they gave me this is a good trade. That's my only true red flag that I see from personal experience. is that no one's trying to help you out really. Like, don't believe that. They're in for themselves. So if it's too good to be true, just the least you can do is do like a Google search or something.
Yeah. Tyler, what's a red flag for you?
I don't know if I'd call this a red flag, more just like my biggest pet peeve when drafting. I hate dealing with injured players. I hate it. I remember I think it was I don't remember. It was one of our people in our league, and they just kept sending me trades for Keenan Allen. It's like Keenan Allen's been hurt for like 8 weeks, and he's like, "Oh, he's gonna come back." Oh, it was
Probably
you.
me. It's probably me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
It
like
wasn't me. I was not
like
about
as soon
that.
as he got injured, it was like the next 6 weeks. All he was talking about is, you're gonna take Keenan Allen. You're gonna take he's gonna come back, the number one receiver. It's
Actually,
like
I don't know if that was me. I know I traded for him and then I traded him away.
I know
But I
you
don't.
at least sent me one, but I don't. But
I know.
I
I
got a
kept trying
lot
to
of
get
Keenan
rid of.
Allen
I kept trying to
requests.
get rid of Mike Williams. That's who it was.
Yeah,
It wasn't Keenan. But
but they
anyway,
just
sorry
kept
to interrupt.
sending Keenan Allen to me, and I would not take it. I just kept declining it. I'm like, no, he's hurt. I need to win now. And they're like, oh, but he'll be fine in like week 16. It's like, well, I need to win now so I can get to week 16. So that's like, it's just, it annoys me a little bit. Like I see
agree.
the appeal of doing it. I see the appeal of like getting a better player for cheap and to win later. But I'm a guy who likes to win now. I like to win my games early and often.
So my red flag, it's kind of two, but they go hand in hand. So I'll start with the first one, the more simple one. If I say I don't want X and this person keeps putting X into the trade, like if I don't know, if I don't want if I don't want
I'm bad
DeAndre
at that.
Swift,
I always do that.
because I DeAndre Swift my trade away. If I say I don't want DeAndre Swift in the trade, A, if they keep sending him, I'm going to decline. B, if they say, well, I don't want to trade anymore, then I'm just done with the trade. So you have to be flexible, right? Now, if you're trying to trade away DeAndre Swift, I might not be the right person to go to. So go find somebody else. But I hate whenever people just try to offer me the same player for basically the same price every time. And the answer is the same. So to go hand in hand with that, if you trade picks in your league, I hate it whenever I do it too. I'm a victim. It's everybody does it, but it's super annoying to deal with whenever they're like, "Oh, well, I'll just bump my pick down one and I'll bump yours up one." Cuz that really doesn't increase the value of the trade when we get past the 6th round. Realistically, when we get past the 6th round and I'm trading a 7th and you're giving me a 12th, if you bump that to an 8 and a 13, there's really no difference. So, like, just stop knocking trades down, not stop knocking down draft picks like that. If somebody's being stingy like that, I usually avoid it if I can, unless it's somebody I'm hell bent on getting. So I don't like whenever people keep sending me the same players, and I don't like it when people keep just swapping picks. And they're not even good picks. Like I said, it could be they'll give me a 14th, and I say I don't really like that pick, so then they offer me a 13th. Like if I don't like the 14th, I'm not gonna like the 13th. So that's kind of those are my red flags. They go hand in hand. But yeah, anybody else have any more quick things about trading?
Yeah, just to go off yours. If that's the case, I'm a walking red flag because I love to do that. That's like one of my main things is I'll bump up one at a time until like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever. Just stop sending me trades. I'll take
Yeah.
it. That's one thing I do. And then another pet peeve of mine. This is all three of ours. If you're listening to this, I doubt you're one, but don't be the guy that never checks the draft, like the trades or the messages boards.
Yes,
Like it's so annoying to send a trade. I still have a pending trade from us. I sent like 2 months ago to someone, and they haven't even opened the app. Don't be one of them guys. I'm assuming if you're listening, you're not. But if you are, don't do that to your league mates. Don't be that type of dickhead. Just at least like decline. Like
Yes.
don't send me there waiting for 2 or 3 months. Just decline it immediately. I'd rather that than waiting. And I'm texting you on text message or Snapchat or like Facebook, however I can get a hold of you. I'm like, dude, look at your fucking phone for 1 second and like give me an answer. That drives me mad more than anything because I'm trade happy and I want trades now. I want them immediately as soon as I send them. So that's another pet peeve of mine.
I'm guilty of that. I have left a couple people just sitting there.
It's like 3 or 4 people I can think of just in our league alone.
I think I have 2 trades right now that I just haven't like decided on.
Well, if you're in a league with somebody like Shanholtz, maybe unless you can not finesse, but unless you're smart enough and you're in the loop enough, I'd probably avoid just trading with that person altogether. So sorry, Shanholtz, but if you
That's half the league. Half the
yeah,
league don't even
yeah.
trade with me anymore. So
Well, that is going to round it out for our topic today. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, all of our socials are posted above. If you're listening, Instagram is fantasy.bums. TikTok is fantasy_bums_. Twitter is bums_ff. And YouTube is fantasy bums. Again, as I said last episode, we do more than just fantasy football podcasts on YouTube. Shane Holtz is doing his No Face, No Case, where he just gives stats of a player without the name and the player's A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. And then you compare the numbers and not the name and see who you like more. And then he reveals at the end. Again, Tyler's working through some things. We're trying to get him on board with something else. He's got a couple ideas, so stay tuned for that. And I have been on and off with our daily bets. I haven't been recording too many videos recently, but I have been posting all of them. I mean, every single bet that I've posted so far on Sharps. So go check them out. Use code FANT, capital F, capital A, capital N, capital T, 429. Let them know the bum sent you. Don't forget to link your sports book there. It's a very, very easy place to track your bets, to track your net profit, your net losses, and if you want to see Shanholtz throw some money down on baseball, this is the place to be. So yes, I guess that's about it. We're the Fantasy Bums. Anybody else?
no, as far as sharps go, I'm finally ranked. I think I'm like 34 on the app
I know.
for profit loss. Yeah, so I mean, if you want to follow fade my bets or tail my bets, I don't hit too many, but when I do, I put a decent chunk of change on them. So I usually get a decent chunk back. I bet like 50, 100 a bet almost at this point, just because I hate money and I don't. What do I need it for? So
Exactly.
definitely check out the sharps. Yeah, for sure.
Can't take it with you. That's all that matters. All right, so we are the Fantasy Bums. You can find us anywhere you can listen to podcasts. We're there. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I just said all that, so go follow us. If you're watching, subscribe. It's free. If you're listening, follow wherever you're listening. If you're on Spotify, Apple, wherever, hit the follow button. It's free. It tracks us. It should give you notifications as to when we post. So that's going to do it for episode 9. We're the Fantasy Bums. Come check us out. And if you're here, stick around for the next one.